So now we're tied up for the winter, it's time for the winterization jobs.
You and me, we're family. The bond that we share is as deep as the sea. No matter how rough things may come to be, you and me, we're family. Sing ho, hey, along for the ride. Ho, hey, I'll stay by your side. Ho, hey, you'll always be alright by me. Yes, you're alright by me.
So before we tied up, we filled up with diesel because it's good to keep the diesel tanks topped up so there's no build-up of condensation, because when you start getting moisture in the tanks, that's when diesel bug starts to get in there and contaminate the fuel.
We have to do some jobs to winterize the boat. The first one is to run fresh water through the engine. So Woody is down in the engine bay, his favourite place, and he's putting water into the saltwater strainer.
So we run fresh water through the heat exchanger, and what this does is it kills off any sort of saltwater bugs in there, prevents saltwater corrosion, and it also dissolves any salt deposits as well.
Okay, neutral.
So we don't just do that for the engine, we do that for the generator as well.
Carrying on, now we're going to winterize the generator, so we have to run fresh water through that.
It's old, but she's been reliable, not like the first year where it was breaking down every 10 minutes. We've disconnected the solenoid here because that was overheating. We've changed the solenoid in the back because that was overheating. It seems to be working fine now. We suspect it's a problem with the panel, but the panel would cost about $900 to replace, so it's not really worth changing the panel. It's an old one, and it would have to be rebuilt from scratch, I think. Living with its idiosyncrasies at the moment, and working around it. We've got a cable tie holding the throttle on, and we just manually turn it on. You can hear the lift pump ticking away there. There's the preheater here. So the weird thing about doing winterization, it doesn't really help with your maintenance list, because instead of the list getting shorter, it actually gets longer. So the other jobs that I've noticed is the muffler has vibrated loose, the welding's come away, so that's going to need re-welding. The elbow as well needs checking and cleaning, and I'd also like to take the opportunity to take the heat exchanger apart. We also think that the engine is burning a bit of oil. The winter list is mounting up very quickly at the moment.
Okay, so I'm doing the winches and they're really bad. Yeah, these are new winches to me. I've not done this type before, and they're really huge and they're caked in stuff. If I tap it down, it should come out, shouldn't it? This. I think I need to do a proper video next time.
Apart from doing the winterization for the boat, there's obviously the domestic side of it as well. So I just want to clean the U-bends on the sink. Oh. Just fill them down. There we go. So that's what it looks like. So I'm going to take all this off and give it a good clean out. The great thing about getting the kids to film part of the maintenance is they get a much deeper understanding of the boat and its maintenance and its systems and how it all works. Just going to make sure everything's nice and clean for the winter months.
Not everything on the boat can be romantic.
Nope.
Okay, this is not really winterization, this is more of a regular job. It's cleaning out the filters from the bottom of the shower. Get your dinghy out of the water as soon as possible, or you'll have another job trying to get all the weed off the bottom.
We just pulled the dinghy out of the water, and as you can see, only after 2 weeks there's already a build-up of growth underneath.
We'll clean it, rinse it off with fresh water and deflate it, and then leave it on the top of the deck. And then if we need it, we're just going to have to keep bringing it out of the water because we can't really leave it in like this.
It took us about half an hour to get the lock off because we thought it was rusted, but it just turned out we had the wrong key.
In the summer we have these really nice cushions out on the aft deck, but in the winter we put them away so they don't get mouldy really and wet, because you know you get rain and just the winds and everything else. And because we've got a huge lazarette here, they go in there like that. Things like this, the man overboard system, I always put that away because the sun damages it. Like our down buoy as well, that all goes away in here. There's no point leaving it out, it's windy and dusty here in the winter. So today is our favourite maintenance job ever, isn't it, Woody? Is this your favourite job? There is one main bilge where all the water goes into. Obviously, because of all the stuff that's going in there, it does get quite disgusting, and it builds up soap suds and all sorts of things you can imagine. Obviously the black water goes into its own tank.
Because it's not just a waste bilge, it's got the bonding strap which connects the steel bulb on the bottom of the keel to the rest of the bonding system. So that needs checking as well, because there's a copper strap which runs down inside, and last time we checked it was broken, so we replaced it. So I just want to give that a check as well. But it does mean just scraping out all of the gunk from the bottom of the bilge before we can actually see it. So it's a horrible job, but it has to be done. So we can tick off a few jobs by doing this. By clearing it out, we can check the bonding strap, I can service the bilge pump, and we can clean the bilge as well.
So it's quite awkward. The gap of where it is difficult to get into, and it's quite deep. What are you detaching there?
So this is just the power to the float switch. So when the float switch gets a certain point, it trips it here, and that kicks the automatic bilge pump going. And then this is a very low-tech float switch. So it's basically a 4-inch waste pipe with a float in the middle, and the float is connected to a line here, and that line is connected to a trip switch there.
Less to break, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, this is the Amel float switch. It's not actually the pump, it's the float switch, but it's all part of the same thing and it makes it work. Works, isn't it, with that?
We're just mopping out the last of the dregs down the bottom there. So this is our new instrument. We've got a bent wallpaper scraper there and a toilet brush on the other side. So there you can see the bonding strap. It's a bit loose, but it's still in place. So that's the keel bolt, and that's the bonding strap there connected to it. Copper bonding strap. And there you can see the bottom of the strum box has fallen off the bilge pump. It's not as bad as it was last time actually. So there's the bottom of the strum box. Have that back. A bit of a cable tie there and some twig. I don't know where that's come from. So apart from the screw holes leaking air and water, which was obviously making the pump really inefficient and occasionally not working at all, as the grill had come off the strum box, I think these had been occasionally working themselves into the non-return valve and stopping the water from staying in the pipe. So basically the water was going up the pipe and coming straight back down again, and that will explain why it was only working intermittently. So actually I've made a bit of a discovery. The strum boxes, the whale strum boxes, use the same non-return valve with a square end as the Henderson 5 pumps. Previously I had to buy the whole service kit at €60 in Parma just to get that non-return valve. So basically I can buy a whole one of these for €17 instead of buying the whole service kit for this for €60, and use the non-return valve out of the strum box in this Henderson 5 pump. Save a few quid.
Here we go. There's 3 tanks on this boat. They're part of the keel, so they're really awkward to clean, and they're also awkward to get to, especially this tank, which is the 3rd tank, and it's underneath the freezer. Luckily, maybe not so luckily, the freezer's broken down, so we had that out anyway, so I could get to it to clean it. They've been cleaned once before on the boat when we first got it, and it was pretty disgusting. This time, they're not so bad. But it's nice to know that they're really clean because we drink the water out of our tanks. We do filter it twice under the sink and also when the water goes in the boat, but we do drink it to save on plastic and save on the hassle of carrying loads of plastic water bottles as well. So because we drink from it, I really like to know that it's really clean. I just get into this small little narrow gap with my new deck brush, scourer, and my new sort of floor mop and lots of bleach, and I just put the bleach on, scrub it, rub it, spray it as well with the hose, and then flush it through, and that's it really. It probably won't be done for another year after this. There's some really big things growing down there. Not as bad as, again, the first year, but bad enough to not want to drink it.
I've got to admit it gets a bit demoralising at times because it's so disruptive, and of course on a boat there's nowhere to escape to, there's nowhere to chill out, because once all the furniture is upside down, there's nowhere to sit, there's nowhere to relax. So after we cleaned the water tanks, we changed the filters as well. We kind of do this every 6 months anyway, because the places we get water from, we're never 100% sure of the quality of the water. So it's nice to have that extra sort of buffer zone of a few extra filters in between us and the water tank. It's been 6 months since we changed these filters, and that one's looking a bit grimy, and that's our drinking water. Because we filter the water twice, once through a 5 micron filter and once through a activated carbon filter here. The 5 micron filter takes out any particles, and the carbon filter takes out any chlorine or chemicals. So this goes through a separate tap, and everything else just goes into the bathroom or the sink. I'll tighten them up. So we learned our lesson last season about winterising the outboards. The main thing is to get the fuel out of them, because the ethanol that's mixed in with fuel these days can leave a residue. And we found that with a carburettor halfway through the season. So what I need to do is drain all the fuel out. The other thing is to run cooling water through the outboard, but these happen to be air cooled, so you don't have to do that. But even so, you still need to put them in water because the exhaust outlet can melt, but it's the actual air that cools the engine. It's a different matter with our 15 horsepower over there, the 2-stroke. That's water cooled, so you've got to run it and make sure that the jets are free. One of the main problems with that is bits of grit or salt blocking the outlet, so the engine can overheat, and then you've lost the engine altogether. So the same thing with that one. We need to empty the fuel out. You can take the carburetor apart, check everything's all right, make sure that the fuel jets are clear, make sure it's nicely greased up inside, so that there's no rusting takes place over winter, and that's it. And then we can put them to bed until next season. Obviously, being in Miramar, the weather doesn't help with the maintenance schedule either, because the wind can pick up, and it does throw the boats around quite a lot. So that's just a taste of our winterization schedule. Our winter maintenance is a whole other thing in itself. There's a massive list we've got to get through. So we'll probably break those videos down into smaller maintenance videos. So hope everybody's having a great holiday period. The next video will be the highlights of our year, going from Spain all the way to Turkey and back again. All the places we visited and our favourite moments. So I hope you enjoy that, and have a happy new year.
And me, we're family, no matter how far away we've grown to be.
Thanks for watching. Please share, like and subscribe. Thanks in particular to the patrons who keep us going through good times and bad. Hit that subscribe button and make sure that you hit the notification button for the exciting content we're going to be releasing over Christmas and into the new year.